Hey, where is everybody? That's better. Good morning, good morning. Grab your coffee. How's everybody doing this morning? Hey, hey, hey. Does everybody have their coffee? This will make your experience so much better. I need to have some kind of response to Captain, my captain. What about CNN? What was the question? Cough, cough. Yeah, did you all see Mike Chernovich's tweet about Hillary's coughing? Trump ahead in the CNN polls. Yeah, he used the phrase cough drop, because I think her polls are going to drop because of the coughing. So, how many of you watched the video of Clinton on the airplane coughing? I'm pretty sure everybody saw it by now. CNN says she's toast. I'm sure they don't say that. You know, I read the video going around the internet where someone who was allegedly a doctor is analyzing Hillary's behavior on video. I don't know how practical it is if you're a doctor to analyze somebody based on their public appearances on video. But it was really convincing when the doctor went through all the symptoms of Parkinson's and lined them up with things that we see her doing in public, you know, everything from the coughing, which I didn't know was a Parkinson's symptom, or can be, difficulty swallowing, that is, to hand tremors, to the strange look in the eyes, to the freezing up and stuff. I didn't know any of that was really lining up with having Parkinson's. And I think I'll be the last one who would say, therefore, maybe she does, because that's probably the line that I would draw. I think it's one thing for a citizen, you know, a layperson, someone who's not a doctor, to look at her and say, hey, she doesn't look healthy. Because I think that's part of the decision process for voting, and I think it's part of persuasion. And I think that's fair game, because my perception of a candidate is part of the reality, right? So even if I'm wrong about what she looks like in terms of her health, it's still my reality. And so that's real in a sense, and that's all I'm talking about is my own reality. But if I were to speculate some specific, you know, health problem that she has, then I think that would be crossing a line. Just personally, I wouldn't cross that line. That said, when I look at what a doctor said, alleged doctor, I don't know who this guy is, you know, a stranger on the internet, it's really convincing. So from a persuasion perspective, it's hard to read the description of Parkinson's symptoms and then see Clinton's recent behavior and imagine that that's a coincidence. But that's what confirmation bias is, right? It's something that you can't imagine would be a coincidence. Like, it's impossible this is a coincidence. So just the fact that, to me, it looks exactly like it lines up with some specific diagnosis, it really doesn't tell you anything, which is the interesting thing. And until you understand that, you don't understand the world. If you think that just because every part of the information, every part of the evidence lines perfectly with the hypothesis that she's got Parkinson's disease, it actually means nothing, you know, to a layperson. Now, if you were a doctor, it probably means a lot. But to a layperson, we're so easily fooled by anybody who acts like an expert that you have to understand that. All right. your hand shakes if you have Parkinson's, no? So, yes, I think that's one of the symptoms. And part of the video I was talking about showed behaviors that people with Parkinson's do to cover for the fact that their hand shakes. And sure enough, there were videos of Clinton doing those things which doctors, or at least this one doctor on the internet, says matches up with how you mask your hand tremors. You know, you do strange hand motions or you hold it next to your chest, but you don't want it out there just hanging because it might shake. That said, here's my problem with the hypothesis that Clinton has Parkinson's. Because as far as we can tell, her husband has Parkinson's, right? Now, what are really the odds? I mean, it must happen all the time, but what are the odds they both have Parkinson's? You know, that just seems a little too convenient, you know, because her husband may or may not have it. I don't know if he's been diagnosed or not. But because everybody's been talking about it, it's on our minds, right? And then once something's on your mind, and then suddenly, hey, it looks like Hillary's got that too. You're getting fucked right now? Good for you. One person having it doesn't decrease the likelihood of the other having it. No. One person's odds don't create another person's odds. But if you were to look at it and say, okay, here's a couple, what are the odds they both have Parkinson's at the same time? I don't know. How often does that happen? I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it's very unlikely. That's all. But, you also have to take into account that everything that does happen is also unlikely because, look at all the things that didn't happen. There are always so many things that could happen that don't. So everything that happens is unlikely, right? The hole in her tongue, I don't know about that. It could be just a photographic oddity. No more unlikely than if she didn't have it. You're right. One person's odds don't affect the other person's odds. Still, what are the odds that two people in a couple both have it? It's low. It's really low. Let's look that up. I'm going to say, how many people have Parkinson's? How many people? All right, so I'm going to bring up the statistics. 10 million people worldwide. 60,000 each year. 10 million worldwide are living with it? That doesn't feel like enough. All right, let's say there are 10 million people worldwide. 10 million is, let's see, 10 divided by 6 billion. 6. equals 0.0016. And don't I have to multiply that by 0.001? Let's round it up, 7. So the odds of a couple both having Parkinson's at the same time, if you were to look worldwide, would be 0.000028. Did I do that right? So the odds that both of them have it, I'm sure I did this wrong because you should never do math in public, but somebody who's good at math, use these numbers and give me the odds. I just did a quick search. Let's say 10 million people in the entire world have Parkinson's. And let's say the population is 6 billion. 7 billion? Are we rounding to 7 billion for the population now? Are you a statistician? Shut the fuck up if I'm not a statistician. I can do math. I'm almost positive that's legal. I'm doing it in public. You can check my numbers. Also, for both people 70 years old. Yeah, I would have to correct for that, right? Because there's a better chance if they're over 70. I guess really I'd have to know. So the odds of any two people would be really low, but the odds of two people over 70 living in a place where they can more easily diagnose Parkinson's would be higher. But still, it's about 1%, right? It's not 2%. I'm sure it's less than 1%. So I'd say you missed learning statistics. My statistics class in college was literally the first class I took. It was 8 o'clock in the morning, my first year of college. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever gone to college, but the first year of college, you should not have a class at 8 a.m. And if you do, it should not be statistics. Because I got to tell you, I wasn't doing too well for most of those classes. Hardwick it was, yes. Was your econ major worth it? Not in terms of using it in some daily sense, but economics is a good way to train your brain to think in a certain way. Really. So if Parkinson's people might be attracted to other Parkinson's people, you're saying, meaning that you could tell something about them by looking at them before they had Parkinson's because it's genetic. Cocaine Parkinson's. Is that a thing? Can you get Parkinson's from cocaine? STDs, not Parkinson's? Yeah, I doubt it. You've really jumped the shark? Have I? Have I jumped the shark? Were you the person who said it last year when I was saying Trump would win the nomination? Were you there telling me that I'd jumped the shark? Were you? All right, I did a blog post on Sunday. So, but if you have drug-induced Parkinson's, doesn't that mean it goes away as soon as the drug goes away? Drug-induced Parkinson's. All right, since you asked, I am going to Google that. That sounds like an interesting thing. Drug-induced Parkinson. Huh. I'll be damned. It's a real thing. Who knew that? Jumping the shark has definitely jumped the shark. How can you tell one from the other? Somebody using my picture on their profile. Risk increases with age. Yeah, so my numbers weren't any good because I didn't adjust for age. You are correct. I also didn't adjust for countries that are better at diagnosing it, I guess. All right, differentiating drug-induced Parkinson's from Parkinson's. An update. It can be challenging. It's the second most common cause of Parkinson's after Parkinson's. All right, let me read this to you, people. I did predict Trump would be running unopposed. All right, this is what drug-induced Parkinson's looks like. Unmasked by any... apparently it's really hard to tell the difference. So that's the takeaway, right? So the takeaway is that there's something called drug-induced Parkinson's. She smokes marijuana. I don't know, if she smoked marijuana, she would be healthier. Do you think it's cocaine? So, I don't have any experience with cocaine. Does anybody have cocaine experience? Is there anything she's ever done in public that looked like she was on cocaine? Could be speed. Does speed, like meth, would meth cause drug-induced Parkinson's? She'd look worse if she was on meth. Anyway, I don't want to speculate about what drug she's on. Yeah, I don't think I can join the conspiracy train of saying that I would back some particular diagnosis or even assume that she's on some particular drug. But I will go with, to my untrained eyes, as a citizen, she doesn't look healthy. That's the only thing I know. I know my perception, but I don't know reality. And if any of you think that your perception also tells you reality, you are definitely on the wrong page. You can do damage in college and have it hurt more in old age. Do I find any conspiracy at all compelling? Yeah, I find them all compelling. That's why conspiracy theories are so fun, because they are compelling by their nature. I mean, you never hear about them if they're not at least a little bit, correct sounding. If she were on cocaine, she'd have more energy. Yes, that seems true. Blaming her for allergies. Did anybody believe the allergy story? Yeah, I don't think anybody's buying. Yeah, just like nobody believes the allergy story. Huh. So, did you notice that? I think I have the timing right for this. That the thing that they got interrupted with the coughing, was she was talking about Trump and her conspiracy theory that Russia might be trying to get Trump elected. Now, somebody asked, do I find any conspiracy theories persuasive? And the trouble is I find them all persuasive, which is why I tell myself to not believe any of them, because they're so easily believable by their nature. They're all based on confirmation bias and circumstantial evidence, and and the mind just likes interesting things. So if you hear a conspiracy theory that's just really interesting, and it fits the evidence, which is really confirmation bias, it's hard to keep your mind from buying into it. So you have to sort of take a step back and say, either this is or is not a conspiracy theory, and if it is, don't believe it. It might be true, but you're dumb to believe it, because if there's no real evidence and it's all just, speculation, it's probably wrong. The odds she will drop out, I think the odds of dropping out are low. I think she'd have to literally be in a hospital bed before she'd. No, I think, actually, I'll take it back. I think if she were in a hospital bed, she would still stay in the race, because I think it's more important to her, more important to her to be the first woman who becomes president. And if you think about it, it might be a while before you get another chance like this. So it's not unimportant for her to get elected. Say what you want about her politics or her personally. It's a big, big deal if a woman gets elected president. It's a bigger deal for women. I think men have already discounted it. I don't think it means anything to men, frankly, because I think men just assume a woman can be president. Have you ever met a man who didn't think a woman could be president in 2016? Is there anybody here? I'd love to hear that. You do? So you're men and you think that a woman can't be president in 2016? Is that what you're saying? Are you serious? No. I can't tell if the no's are agreeing with me or disagreeing with me in this context. Can be, yes. You're actually worried to have a woman as a president. In 2016, you're worried that a woman can't be president? Are you really saying that? You don't think individual differences are a little bit bigger than the gender differences? What planet have you grown up on that you think that a woman can't be president? I'm actually kind of blown away by that. It's like you haven't lived in the real world. Yeah, we talked about the coughing. Yeah, it's Trump versus evil, Germany. Are you using Germany as a case where a woman can be president, or Germany as a case where they shouldn't be president? I can't tell if your comment is about Merkel in general. Do you still love us? I love you with all my heart. Talk about the Illuminati. I am going to talk about the Illuminati. So, one of the things that has been interesting about this whole Trump saga and writing about Trump is that I meet a lot of interesting people. And if there were an Illuminati, I can tell you for sure I would know about it by now. And by that I mean I have gotten close enough to the inner belly of the of the beast that I can see it from the inside now. I have sort of vision on both sides. And I can't give you the details on that, but let's just say that my connections to people who are connected to things is very high right now, which wasn't the case even a year ago. So I can get firsthand information without it being filtered through the media on just about anything now, because I have somebody who's connected to everything. And if there were an Illuminati running the world, I'm positive I would know about it. And it doesn't seem to be the case. There are, however, factions, various factions, and there might be, half a dozen of them that are terribly important. And those factions are fighting each other like, let's say, warlords, but without the war. Sometimes there's some war that's incidental, but, the warlords are not literally fighting with violence against each other. But in terms of influence and mind share and manipulating the masses and controlling the message and therefore controlling the world, there are probably half a dozen groups who could be identified as, sort of persuasion warlords, if you will. People who are making gigantic differences in how you see the world, but you don't necessarily know where it's coming from. But I do, because I've sort of gotten closer to it and seen it. Name one group? No. The Knights Templar. No, nothing. I don't think there are any groups that would have a name like Bilderberg or, I'm not claiming that anything you've ever heard of is a group. No. They're just individuals who are, clustered around common interests, I would say. Am I an atheist? I'm a non-believer, which is slightly different in my mind. How do I know there are 6 groups? That's just roughly speaking. I don't know that there are 6. Shape-shifting? No. I don't think I'm a nihilist. So how do you know there are 6? I can just tell that there are roughly 6 powerful interest groups that seem to make a difference. It's just a rough guess. Clinton Cash, I wouldn't believe anything he put out, actually. What do you think of Earth-like planets found recently? Well, I have this feeling we're never going to find aliens. Is there any more attacks saved? Well, so here's an interesting thing. Let's say you were working for the Clinton team. Let's say you were working for the Clinton team and you were their top influencer. Now, I've speculated that Robert Cialdini is probably consulting for Clinton because he did consult for Obama and he'd be the best one in the world to do that. And it's unlikely he became a Republican between Obama's administration and now. He's academic after all. So what are the odds? But let me walk you through this. Imagine you've taken sides, and you're helping the Clintons, or you're helping Hillary Clinton get elected, and you're doing a good job. And then maybe you find out maybe the person you're helping isn't as great as you thought she was. Maybe she's lying about her health. So just one kind of example. Would you continue working hard on her behalf once you discovered something you didn't like? All right. And let's just say it was health. Maybe there was a health problem that had been hidden. If you found that out, would you feel a little bit used? Now, you still might not want Donald Trump to be your president, but would you work as hard to get the other person elected if you had lost faith in her? So it's entirely possible that some of her advisors have bailed out. I'm just speculating, right? So if from now till the end you don't see something happening on the Clinton side that looks like a new revised persuasion game, it's possible that her persuader is either being ignored, which is possible, or bowed out, or is just trying less hard, because both candidates are being so maligned by the other side that it's hard to align your reputation with one of them. I mean, you've seen me. I've disavowed Trump, and I've endorsed Hillary Clinton just for my personal safety, because I don't want my reputation nailed to either one of them. Let them have their own reputation. Leave me alone. I like writing about them, but I don't want to pair my reputation to some other person I can't control, right? So if you're consulting for Clinton, you might have the same feeling. You might have a preference, but you might not want your name associated with them. Is she mentally ill? I doubt it. Well, I don't think Cialdini worked for money for Obama. I think he probably just consulted because he liked that side. That's my guess. Huma's assignment was to like her. What's interesting about, am I saying it right? Is it Huma or Uma? Is the H pronounced Huma? Huma's an interesting character, because if you look at the two people she's most associated with, her husband, Anthony Weiner, and then her boss, Hillary Clinton, what do those two people have in common? There's something they have in common. Let's see if it's obvious to you. All right, I'll say it again. So Huma Abedin, she's most associated with two people. Her husband, I guess now he's going to be an ex, Weiner, Anthony Weiner, and her boss. What do those two have in common? Sex addict? No. They're both abusive. That is correct. I wasn't going to use the word abusive, but I liked it when you used it. I was going to say that there are two people that the average person would not be able to get along with. So there's something in Huma that allows her to get along with people who other people would have a lot of trouble getting along with. All right. They're both public figures. Yeah. They're both sex organs. Feel for your reputation taking a hit if Trump loses. I don't have fear in that way, no. I mean, I wouldn't call it fear. But objectively speaking, the outcome of the election will have potentially a big impact on me for the rest of my life. So I guess I'm more curious than fearful. Trump doesn't turn on the fan in the bathroom. Okay. Persuasion comes out today. Oh, you're right. Oh, that's right. I was gonna say something about that. Somebody asked me earlier on here, why don't I just ask Cialdini if he's consulting? And it would be easy to do. We've traded messages on Twitter, so I could contact him, and he and we have the same book agent, and he did send me a pre-release copy of his book Persuasion that goes on sale today. And by the way, you absolutely should buy it and read it. I wouldn't say this about a lot of books. I don't even say this about my own book, right? My own book, you should buy it if it's the sort of thing, you're interested in, whatever. But the new Cialdini book, along with his first one, Influence, and now the new one called Persuasion, you should buy it. I'm going to say that as clearly as I possibly can. You really, really need to read these two books. You are not going to understand your world if you don't. All right? There are other books that I recommend too. If you look at the Persuasion reading list, as I call it, just Google that, Persuasion reading list, and you'll see my list of what you should read. Would I consult? I'm too busy. I got a book. I'm not a book. I got a job. And by the way, what could I possibly say to Trump that I don't say publicly anyway? Right? Can you think of anything I wouldn't say publicly or haven't said publicly? What else would there be? If I have any good ideas, I say them. The Persuasion reviews are very interesting. I haven't seen them yet. How long you've been a racist? Most overrated persuasion technique? Most overrated. I don't know. It'd be hard to say. I'm a cartoonist. Do you know Susan Weinschenk? I don't think so. Wow, I got a hair on my nose or something, sorry. What is KFAB? I don't know. What's your job? I'm the cartoonist for the comic strip Dilbert. Overrated persuasion techniques. Well, NLP in general is overrated. I know John Dvorak. We've had lunch. We've talked a number of times. Yeah, read Influence first. Do you have Parkinson's? I hope not. You are overrated. You know I am. Did Putin spread pollen? Oh, your copy showed up at midnight? Interesting. Do I know Brett Ed? I met him for about 30 seconds once at a cartooning convention. Do I think Hillary is sick? I think she doesn't look healthy. That's slightly different than sick. I enjoy writing about persuasion more than I enjoy Dilbert, just because it's newer and it's fun and it's in the headlines. And am I sick? I actually have allergies, which is funny. I'm trying to not go blow my nose right now, which I need to do. When did you decide to follow the politics of hate? When did you decide to follow the politics of confirmation bias? You think Cuban is out of control? Mark Cuban started out with an impeccable sort of public reputation and has cut that in half, I would say. Yeah, so I would say that Cuban probably went from something like 70% admiration, just based on the fact he was successful and interesting, and he was a television personality and no nonsense, straight talker and stuff. But now that he's waded into politics, I think that people don't see him as credible in that realm. And the things he's saying do not seem insightful. They seem like sort of provocative for the sake of being provocative. I'm also a little disappointed, I have to say, because I think Mark Cuban's, he's got this rare situation where he's the type of person who could make a global difference in the world just by wanting to, and well, it'd take a lot of work, but by wanting to, because he has that personality, he has the tools. And I hope that his instincts are to make the world a better place. Honestly, I'm not seeing it. All right, I'm not denying it, because I'm not the guy who's going to tell you what's in someone else's inner thoughts from a distance, right? I don't know that. I can't know that. But in terms of what he demonstrates concern outwardly, but I'm not seeing the effort in a positive direction. It seems more of an effort as a critic. Now, I, of course, do the same thing. I'm a critic. But I also write endlessly about what I think would be a better idea in lots of different realms. Now, I don't think my ideas should all be adopted, because they're not all good. In fact, I assume the vast majority of them are not good or not practical. But I am trying to add something to the process, right? Maybe make you think in a different way, open up some possibilities, say something dangerous that someone else couldn't say because they're not in the position to do it. I always think I'm trying to add something back. I always think I'm trying to make the world better. And if I wouldn't be motivated without that. I kind of need that. And I'm looking at Cuban, and I'm saying there's a guy with all the tools. I'm pretty sure he loves his country. Pretty sure. I'd say that with some certainty, actually. But I'm not seeing one foot in front of the other, making the world a better place. I feel like I could do a lot more, but obviously I don't tell you guys all the stuff I do, but I'm pretty deeply involved in big things that could change the world. Some of them are literally secret, and others I can't talk about because of other people involved and stuff. But I'm involved in some pretty big things that would make a pretty big difference in the world. And I do that because I want the world to be a better place. That motivates me. I think you love money more than you love country. Everybody loves money loves money more than everything else when they don't have it. What happens when you get money, and I can't speak for everyone in the world, but the people I've talked to who have gone from not having money to having money, they all report the same thing, is that once you have it, you worry about other things, right? You don't worry about the thing you already have. What would another, $1 million, somebody handed me $1 million. I don't know how to say this without bragging, but so I'll just say it anyway. It wouldn't change my life in any way. So that extra $1 million wouldn't have any utility. But making the world a better place, that would make me happy every day. Every day I thought about it, I'd say, hey, I did that little thing that made the world a little bit better. So, it's loaded. Any progress on the micro city deal? I'm still chipping away at that, actually. Yeah, I think my final, my swan song, is that the right word? My grand finale, if you will, I've always planned, would be a city. I'm not talking about a city with my name on it or something I own or anything like that, but very much like the Y Combinator project that was announced not too long ago, I like the idea of a city, or let's call it a community, that's designed from the ground up to be awesome. So I think that will be my project from my, maybe age 70 and on. So I've got a while. I plan to live for a long time, and I don't want to be bored. So I'd like to work on things that are meaningful, and that would be pretty meaningful. Somebody asked about my startup, and I will tell you the name of it now. Does anybody want to? Somebody already said it here. If you want to see my app, which by the way is only a small part of the startup. So when I tell you the app does one specific thing, but it's not representative of the startup. The startup is, say, 100 times bigger than what the app can do. The app will be one tiny part of it. But it's really awesome. And why don't you go take a look at it if you want. It's called Whenhub. So it's the word when, W-H-E-N-H-U-B. So that's the name of the company. It's the name of the app. So it's for both Apple and I think it's on the Android store as of a couple days ago. The startup team will be over here in a few hours, and we'll get an update on that. So don't tell the whole world, but if you want to go try it, go to the Apple store and download Whenhub. Also on Android, I think. If it's not there, it'll be there in a couple days. Here's what it does. When you're meeting somebody, meeting friends for business, for lunch, you're meeting your spouse, you're picking up your kids, all day long, you're always going back and forth, meeting people at certain places. You know, when is somebody going to get here? And our app does this one simple thing. It allows you to send out a text to the person or people, and what we do is groups. That's the fun part. And you can see them on a map approaching a location. Now, we don't do GPS. We're not doing traffic. We're not doing that. There are other apps that do that. We just want you to show everybody on the map who's converging on a location. We call it the approach. So we're all about the approach. I'll tell you how I use it. I use it when I go to lunch. I send down a text, and I can see the person approaching, and you don't have to do that. I'm parking. Where are you? I'm in the restaurant. You know, all that stuff. So you don't have to do that. But the coolest thing is like today, when my startup team converges on my house today, about an hour before, I'll probably receive a text from one of the team, and it doesn't matter who initiates it, so anybody who has it. Yeah, Glimpse is similar. I don't know if Glimpse works across platforms yet, so we work with Android as well. And the reason that Glimpse will not be competitive with us in the long run is that, as I said, our app is a very small part of what we're going to be rolling out. Glimpse is just Glimpse. When you see the rest of our ecosystem and you see how the app fits into it, you're going to have a whole different sense of what it is. But we'll save that. So the only people who will see your location are the people that you've invited, right? And then you can tap on their little face on the map. You can actually see them on the map by face, so their little faces will be coming toward you on the map. So I'm talking about my startup and the app that we just launched, which is a small part of the startup, but you can see the app now. It's called Whenhub. How do you monetize? Well, in the long run, we have a whole bunch of paths to monetize. In fact, I'll be writing extensively about this topic. The startup was organized to have the risk profile of an incubator. So an incubator is a whole bunch of startups, and the owner of the incubator owns a little bit of each of the startups. So if any one of the startups does well, the incubator makes money. But the startup itself has a high risk and a very small chance of succeeding. So what we did with Whenhub, and this is beyond the app, the stuff that you haven't seen and won't see for a little while, although I'll see it today in its nearly finished form. You're getting hypnotized. So what we did was we built a company that could do so many things with the one product suite that we don't know which applications will be popular, because it does maybe thousands and thousands of things, all of which people like and would use. I mean, there are just dozens of things that the product does, every one of which is better than what you're doing now, right? You can invest in it if you're a qualified investor, a VC. Probably going out for, I'm going to ask for $10 million actually at this point, because in terms of its size, it would be similar to building something like Microsoft Word or PowerPoint or Excel. On day one, it won't be as robust as those things. But in terms of its size and scope and its universal appeal, it's that size. Apple Store doesn't have it. Yeah, the Apple Store has it. A Whenhub. The only reason it wouldn't have it is the only way it wouldn't be in the Apple Store is if the team took it down this morning because they have an update or something. Because I think there is an update heading that way. So one of the advantages we have with Whenhub is that Trump just died. How to spell it? How to spell it? It's the word when, H-U-B, W-H-E-N-H-U-B. Yeah, just the way you see it spelled in the comments there. Seriously? You're not finding it? It's been there for a month. But it is possible the team took it down this morning because I'm meeting with them and I know they're going to show me an update. So I may have picked the only time it's not on there. Oh, you found it? Did some of you find it and some of you didn't? It's there. Okay, it is there. Oh, you know what? Maybe it's country. Might be country dependent. Is that a thing? I don't know if that's even a thing. In the United States, I'm sure everybody can see it. It's there. I'm looking at it. Is it possible that in another country you're not looking at it because we haven't done localization? Could be. Yeah, Austria. It's on Apple. Okay, if it's in Austria and the United States, it's everywhere. I'll tell you why the Trump saga is like a movie script after the election. What's the benefit of seeing people converge? Don't you always wonder when that last person is getting there? Let me give you an example. I went to dinner for some friends who came from out of town. There were 10 of us. And we were all sitting in a restaurant. And we sat there in the restaurant for an hour because we thought that 2 other people were coming who, it turns out, didn't know the event was on. And so we literally just sat there for an hour. Now, I think there was a problem. We had the wrong phone number for them. So usually you're not going to wait an hour before somebody texts. But that last 15 minutes that you're sitting around waiting and wondering if somebody's get there, or should you order, how far away are they? There's always, and you're texting to somebody who's in their car usually, and you don't want to text them in their car. So if somebody turns on their app, then you don't have to wonder how far away they are. The thing I like about the app is that last 10 minutes before somebody gets to your house, you can do so much if you're sure that nobody's going to walk in. Like you can use the restroom if you know you have 10 minutes. But if you don't know you have 10 minutes, you're like, maybe I better hold it. I don't know. So there are just a ton of things. There are just a ton of things that jerk off, that you can do if you know you have 10 minutes. All right? I can tell I got a lot of guys on here. I call it's like the Uber app for everyone. So instead of waiting for just an Uber car, you can, let me tell you how I use it. I use it in Uber. So when I take an Uber, often if I'm going to Berkeley for one of the projects I'm working on there, I'll pick up my associate on the way. And so Uber lets me see where I am, but once I'm in the car, I don't need it anymore, right? I'm in the car. I don't need the Uber app. So I use Whenhub to tell my associate that the Uber that I'm in is going to pick her up. So she's ready and waiting on the curb when we walk by. That would be good enough reason to develop that app. Why wouldn't you use Glimpse? The answer to why you wouldn't use Glimpse will be more apparent when the next feature is rolled out. So there's something we're doing that's tying us to the larger ecosystem that Glimpse doesn't have, and presumably will never have, that makes us different. So today we're similar to Glimpse. I don't know if they work across. Does anybody have Glimpse? Do you know if it works across platforms? Can you do a Glimpse from an Apple to a Android? So they have that now. It works across both. Yeah. So we would be competitive with that, but we have some advantages that you'll see soon. All right. So on day 1 we're equal. On day 30, you probably will never want to use that Glimpse again. And honestly, we're going to use our. And is Glimpse multi-person now, or is it just one-to-one? Can you do a Glimpse with more than one person? What got wrecked? You can tweet it. It's ties to a link. So you can do multi. Yeah, so they would be our primary competitor until we introduce a feature that they won't have. What if your startup fails? It's a system, not a goal, meaning that the pivots are built into it. When you see the larger cloud-based app, I think you will understand. Reddit is out. Who got 20 million? Was that something that happened? Is that on the news today? I missed it. Gretchen Carlson, 20 million. Settlement. Does anybody have any ideas for Dilbert today? I need to draw a Dilbert cartoon, and I need your help because I don't feel like working today. I don't mind drawing, but I don't feel like thinking. Whenhubers. 20 million. Not bad. Do people pay tax on that sort of thing? 20-point lead in independence. Yeah. Dilbert tries to develop an app. That does seem like the obvious thing. Developing an app. Why didn't I think of that? Nothing about food. Startup on the side. Buys a suit. It takes a couple hours to do a daily comic, counting the drawing. I'll go startup. Oh, I missed the question about the startup. I've done Dilbert beating venture capitalists. Oh, I think I'll do that. VCs, angels. Negroes outside. What? Knitting at work. I had a coworker, a dude. What about Christina? Will I kiss your ass? No, but thanks for asking. Black man adore. I'll have to play these back so I can see them. All right. I'm going to go try to make something, and I will talk to you guys later. Thank you.